Great deal, I reckon. Let's have a look at this. Jemima Khan, former wife of the Pakistani cricket captain and politician Imran, has written a cross-cultural romantic comedy, 109 minutes, M-rated, and you've got Lily James in the role of Zoe, award-winning documentary filmmaker whose choices in men have been less than satisfactory, shall we say. She's best mates with an oncology registrar called Kazim, played by Shazad Latif, whose Pakistani family lives next door to her flamboyant divorced mother, Kath, Emma Thompson. So Zoe and Kasim even sneak off together to the tree house in his backyard, where he enjoys a forbidden smoke. Although there is clearly a closeness between them, they're good mates, save for his first kiss when they were both kids, and they kissed one another, romantically they have not connected. And then one day he announces to her that he'll enter an arranged marriage, although in modern parlance, I had not heard this term. It's an assisted marriage. Is that, by the way, is that a term you're familiar with, assisted marriage, any of you? Had you heard that? No. Okay. So maybe it's just our age that we know them as arranged marriages. But anyway, while taken aback, Kazim cites to Zoe the divorce rate in Britain. Now, if I'm not mistaken, it was mentioned at 55%. And that was compared to the divorce rate from arranged unions, which was 6%. So, wow. I mean, Zoe then is unsuccessfully pitching her latest documentary idea to disinterested producers when she puts to them the concept of love contractually. I love that term. I thought it was wonderfully utilised in the movie. Suddenly, these producers are on board. And now the only obstacle that remains is convincing Kazim to be allowed to record his every move on his journey to wedded bliss. And so it is that Zoe films Kazim and members of his family, including his parents, brother, sister, grandmother. Zoe's there when Kazim and his parents meet with a cultural consultant called Mo the Matchmaker. Asim Chowdhury plays that particular role. And she records his first internet visual hookup with a young Lahore-based law student called Maimuna, played by Sajal Ali. Very quickly, that initial meeting results in engagement, then a trip to Pakistan for what turns out to be a 3-day wedding. But try, though, as Kazim and Maimuna do for the sake of the family, all is not right. So that is What's Love Got to Do with It? Very well written and performed. I was just trying to think, you're probably a good one to ask about this, Peter. You know how there are sort of like, it's almost like actualisation where there are interviews, documentary style, with the parents and the brother, sister and grandmother. We've seen that a number of times before. Was When Harry Met Sally one of them? I'm just trying to think of movies that have done that off the top. Anybody else can jump in as well.
Yeah, that sort of arranging a marriage or arranging romance and talking it through. Yes, that's been shown in a number of rom-coms.
And it works pretty well. I mean, it's sort of it's a device that we don't see a lot, but as such, it works. Works reasonably well. I thought it was well written and performed. Oh, you get what you expect here, Peter, don't you? It's this sort of same wheelhouse as My Big Fat Greek Wedding and Mamma Mia, and I also reference a really good movie, The Big Sick. That sort of cross-cultural love affair between a Pakistani and an American. Did this do it for you or not?
I was surprised. It actually worked very well for me because I'm sort of immune from most of the rom-coms, which are just so predictable and go through the same story arcs. But Jemima's script, based on her own experiences of a cross-cultural marriage with Imran Khan and that Pakistani-British sort of connection, etc., I found very sturdy. And in fact, there are 3 elements to the film that is explored by the writing, which I was actually quite impressed by, to, I suppose, make this less of a standard rom-com and more of one that has some real issues that it was trying to grapple with. One is the idea, of course, of Lily James being single and whether Emma Thompson, as her mother, is trying to push her into being married. Is that important for a woman to be married? Secondly, the assisted marriage situation and whether that's a better way of having a relationship than one where you find your own sort of partner, and the whole notion of cross-cultural relationships and how that can work with different religions, different perspectives, and so on. Look, I found it very sturdy, and Lily James playing the filmmaker, I thought how interesting that was to interpolate that, her career, into the whole notion of her exploring her life and of the life of the Pakistani man. So I actually quite like the film, and it's also interesting to note the title was used in 1993, of course, for the Tina Turner biopic that starred Angela Bassett. So it's used here in a very much more interesting sort of way, I thought.
Well, I mean, I thought, again, you've got a couple of scene stealers in a movie that is really extremely colourful. The wedding scenes are terrific. You've got the wedding scenes in Pakistan, cavalcade of colour and finery. Obviously, Emma Thompson splashes out. She really immerses herself into that sort of larger-than-life persona with wanton abandon, and she's sort of loud and hardly tactful as Zoe's mum, who does want her daughter to find Mr. Right, so that I don't suppose it's different to any other parent. But she really is given many choice lines and doesn't waste any of them. But, Greg, the other one that really stood out to me, the poker-faced Pakiza Baig, who's cast as Zahid's Tell It Like It Is grandmother, Nanny Jan. I mean, what a hoot. Whenever she's captured on film, this sort of deadpan expression, what a contrast to the role that I've just mentioned before for Emma Thompson.
And I also like the Mo the matchmaker in his small cameo there. I thought he was quite droll and funny as well. But I agree that this is sort of a cross-cultural romantic comedy. It's from Working Title, who make all these kind of romantic comedies like Love Actually and the Bridget Jones series. So it taps into that sort of audience straight away. I like the all the cultural references there. You've got a bit of a flavour for Pakistan there. I thought those Pakistan sequences were full of colour. There's some fabulous costumes there, nice production design, and a couple of superbly choreographed Bollywood-style dance sequences. And I thought this gave us a vibrant sense of place and culture there. And I thought Nitin Shaw in his score further added to the flavour of the film. And I thought Lily James brought warmth and also a vulnerability and a hint of insecurity to her performance as Zoe, who's actually a likeable protagonist here. Latif exuded charm, and I thought the two had a wonderful, easygoing chemistry, and their relationship seemed unforced and very natural there. I like Emma Thompson in a role that seems tailor-made for her. As you said, she sort of enjoyed herself here and cut loose a few times there. And I did like the couple who played Kazim's devoted parents, Shabana Azmi and Jeff Misra. I thought they brought a sort of dignity to their role as well. I thought it was a good time at the cinema, but a little bit formulaic. I knew where this was headed from the word go, and even though I enjoyed it while I was on the screen, I found it fairly easy to forget once I walked out of the cinema.
I mean, this is really feel-good entertainment. It should, I reckon it will attract an appreciative audience. And, yes, you're right, of course. There's no doubt about where it'll end up. But Lily James, really charming. Shazad Latif, epitome of dignified. And you've mentioned the parents. Yeah, I mean, they're clearly proud of their son. They remain keen to maintain a tradition. And there's nothing wrong with that, is there, Jackie?
Oh, look, I'm not a person who enjoys rom-coms particularly. I think you even remember that, Alex. I find them
very narrow band, Jackie. I mean, you don't even appreciate the 95 years in a football machine. You should be. I mean, in fact, I've got to deviate at this point.
No, please don't, because I would like to say.
Yes.
That what's love got to do with it? I've barely heard a bad word against it in what I've read and heard about it, and I'm totally there with this film. I thought it was really delightful. I'll agree with everything Peter said, and I'll agree with everything Greg said, because I thought it was just lovely. It had a light touch, but it was there was not really a dull moment through it, and visually as well as the language, Jemima Khan's done a great job with the dialogue. It was entertaining. It was honest. I thought it was actually a rom-com that was believable, and yet not, it had its variations through it, except for maybe the bride wasn't quite, her double life.
It was.
I didn't really agree with that.
It was quite a sharp contrast, wasn't it?
But apart from that, I felt there was nothing forced about it. I could see it quite natural, quite, good chemistry. Emma Thompson, as Greg just said, yes, but Emma Thompson could have stolen the show in this, but she didn't. She just held back enough to make, to take her role and let us enjoy all of those wonderful secondary characters. So it wasn't just all about this one romance and its ups and downs, as the normal rom-com theme goes. This was about, enjoying the, the colour and of the other characters, and the Pakistani culture I thought was beautiful. What I thought was lovely about having them as next door neighbours was we saw more of the mother, played by Emma Thompson, integrating with their culture rather than the Pakistani family becoming, sort of British in their way. And I thought that was really lovely.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt there's a playful quality about this, and while not eschewing pathos, there's both of those things. I mean, it's really great to see, Jackie, that you can soften your hard stand towards rom-coms when you get something that's you would class as being of a higher quality. That's admirable of you. Now you just have to embrace the mighty fighting Essendon footy machine. And Dave, I'm going to tell you a story about Jacqueline. During the week she texted me a piece of memorabilia. Did you not, Jackie?
No, denial knowledge.
Yeah, denial knowledge, which was a ticket to a match between Melbourne and Essendon, I think dating back to around about 2014, if I'm not mistaken, and a cherished piece of her memorabilia. So I think she's warming to football, Dave. Isn't that great to see? I think we'll be having more footy talk on this program.
Interesting.
Exactly. It happened to be something I told her to destroy because it was a match that was memorably forgettable, but nevertheless, talk to me about What's Love Got to Do with It. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, look, this was an interesting film for me because about a week before I went to see the film, I saw a trailer for this film before another film that went for 2.5 minutes. I couldn't believe it. I've never seen a trailer go for that long before, but it basically summed up the film in a short film format. So I went into this film thinking, there's no way I'm going to enjoy this film. I know where it ends up. I know who ends up with who kind of thing because it was all shown in the trailer. But what I did find was that it was an enjoyable journey to get to that ending. So even though I went in knowing what was going to happen, it was enjoyable getting there. The interesting thing is I actually interviewed the director of this film, Shakar Kapoor, and he said to me that he doesn't see this as a film about assisted marriage. He meant for this to be a film about love and the different ways that people get there. And I almost felt during the interview that he kind of gets offended when people say that this is a film about arranged marriage, because for him, as he said, it's a love letter about love. It's not a love letter about arranged marriage or showing arranged marriage to the outside world or anything like that. So
it's difficult though, Dave, because I mean, ultimately, for most people, and I think you can use the word most, it's not something that we are familiar with in this country.
No.
I mean, maybe the Jewish community, absolutely. I get that quite a number of the Jewish community is aware of it. But the broader community, it's not something that's commonplace. Obviously, if you're born in a particular part of the world and you move here and so forth. So, I mean, I understand what the director's saying, but it's also, to me, the figures that I cited at the start of this conversation are quite noteworthy, because 6% of arranged unions end in divorce apparently in the UK. That's incredibly low, because we know the divorce rate in the Western world is very, very high. So, even though it might not be something that off the bat you and I would favour, it clearly still has a place even in 2023.
Yeah, and he said that. That was one of the things that he actually said. It still exists, and that's why, for him and Jemima, it was in this film, because this is supposed to be a film that shows the different way that people get to love. So, yeah, it was just interesting that was his strong point during the interview was, please don't call this a film about arranged marriage. It's a film about love. But like I said, I found it an enjoyable journey watching the film. I'm not always a big fan of rom-coms either, but this one had me laughing at different times. So yeah, I really, really did enjoy it. I wouldn't say it's film of the year, but it wasn't an endurement, as I call some rom-coms.
All right, Jackie, score out of 10 from you, please. Ah, indeed. I think she's disappeared. Having said that, let's get a score out of 10 from you, Dave.
6 out of 10 from me.
Wow. Okay, it's surprisingly low, but there we go. All right, Greg.
6 to 6.5 for me.
Peter, I think you'll go higher.
Yeah, it was a very sturdy script and a good storyline, the 3 aspects, so I gave it 7 out of 10.
And I gave it 7.5 out of 10. So there we go. Now,